Season 1 of Black Ops 7 Zombies is making some huge changes. From the boss fight difficulty, to changes to survival and cursed, huge augment changes, some unfortunate nerfs, and so much more. Welcome to the patch notes, everybody. Let's get this started. Unfortunately, there's a lot, well, fortunately, there's a lot of words and specificity towards this blog post. I love to see it, love the patch notes being as descriptive as possible, but I do apologize if I kind of just skip over some stuff because there are a lot of little tiny changes that you may not have even experienced. But starting things off with Ashes of the Damned main quest. First and foremost, the Ashes of the Damned boss battle in cursed mode has been reverted to its original harder difficulty. I never thought they would do something like this, and I love it. This essentially gives us, well, many different tiers of difficulty. We have directed mode, standard, and now cursed as the harder version of this difficulty. The amount of content you can have, the amount of experiences you can have with this boss fight are now so much more varied, and I just think this is fantastic. There are a lot of issues they addressed where players may fall through the map, could get stuck in the repair animation. This happened multiple times as we were trying to do this Easter egg. Specifically when other players were trying to repair it, it was pretty bad. There was a big issue where Tessie could teleport out of the boss fight arena and you would just be lost without Tessie. Interestingly, players in other events will now be warped to a main quest step that requires all players after a 5-minute delay. So if somebody's doing the secret Xursa attack or the Dempsey Easter egg, they will now be teleported into, I can only imagine, the, well, boss fight itself / the blood or ritual lockdown after a 5-minute delay. At least that's how that reads to me. Addressed an issue where the light on the trap switch does not turn off after fully extracting the energy from the Aether generator during the Wonder Weapon quest in Van Dorn Farm. Addressed an issue where the dining room skeleton skull would not reset. Don't know exactly what that means. Maybe that means that step is going to be a little bit more difficult during that main quest. You have to do it all in one go. I don't know. Addressed an issue with collision near the film reel found outside the deck in Blackwater Lake. Fixed an issue where the main quest would not progress if the Widow's Lantern spores are spread on round 999. So you know how you have to wait 3 rounds in order for the Widow's Lantern spore to spread? Well, if you did that on the max round, then it wouldn't work. Except now it seems as though that's been fixed. In general, they fixed a collision with the red truck in Van Dorn Farm. Small areas of the graveyard and the crashed rocket did not have player collision. Not mantling correctly in Van Dorn Farm. An exploit on the second floor of the farmhouse. That could be the strategy where all the zombies come at you from one direction. Adjusted some of the positions for the overgrown horde husks. So I think that they're gonna lower that so that way they could all be shot with the abomination beam. That's just my guess though, we'll have to wait and see. Collision on the boathouse. Players would take out of bounds damage in the Cosmodrome. People thought that was a relic. They could take out of bounds damage when diving off the bridge towards the garage. I've experienced that a couple times. Jump pad VFX would not clear if players died in the flight path. Very interesting. Not being able to mantle a section of fence. And adjusted collision near the tool shed in the Blackwater Lake, creating a safe spot. So I bet you that's your AFK strategy. On to some more fun things. The Pack-a-Punch version of the arrow will now fire grenade projectiles. Hopefully that's going to help your camel grind be a little bit easier. There's an issue with the Flatline Mark II, with the shock blade skin doing double damage to the ether generators for power. There's an issue where the base name would still appear on the loot card after the weapon has been upgraded. There's an issue where weapon wall buys were visible through the player's scope. Through some of these scopes, certain attachments could glow brightly when standing near a light source. Adjusted the fire rate for the DS20 Mirage. I just got done testing that, so we'll have to see if that's better or probably worse. But the underbarrel launcher damage will now scale with weapon rarity and Pack-a-Punch upgrades. And I think that's universal, not just for the Mirage. So that's going to be fun to test. For the mystery box, items from the mystery box will now drop on the ground when players melee the box. Nice little quality of life update. For survival, this is huge. The Necrofluid Gauntlet can now be acquired from the mystery box in survival. Very big. That's going to change up the meta of that survival map, and I love to see it. TED tasks are now enabled in survival. Deja vu, they said that before the game was going to launch. That's just going to make me love survival even more and make testing the TED tasks a little bit easier. Chompy will now remain active in survival except for special rounds and during exfil, just like it was during the beta. For Cursed, they are going to reduce the amount of essence earned from trap kills. They are addressing an issue with players using a timeout Gobblegum to unlock a relic portal. If you don't know, there is a relic where if you don't take any damage, that's how you unlock the relic portal. Now you will not be able to use timeout in order to do that. Very interesting. There was another exploit that allowed players to spam the interact on the phone to get a relic portal to appear. That's a little bit more glitchy. That is a little bit more unintended, so I could see them fixing that. Now you will have to interact with those phones every 10 rounds in order to get that relic portal. Don't you worry, I will be going over all the relics and how to obtain them very soon. Be sure to subscribe for that. I've been doing some testing. Addressed an issue where the wine bottle for a particular relic would appear to float in the air. Very important. I know a lot of people who have a big problem with that wine bottle relic. Closed an exploit involving loading a solo save after round 60 to unlock a relic after completing the main quest at an earlier round. Once again, they are making you do it the difficult way, and I love that for Cursed. And they added a playlist image for Cursed. Really cool to see what that's going to be. Now, some big things here. This is important. Armor plates are now automatically applied to your vest with Vulture 8 Armor Matic if down a full armor plate or more. Now, a lot of people are reading this that Armor Matic only works if you're down a full plate or more, which is a perfectly reasonable way of reading this. But when I first read this, I thought that armor plates are automatically applied to your vest with Armor Matic if down a full plate or more, meaning that even if you didn't have any armor around you, if you didn't pick up any armor, but you somehow got less than one armor plate down, then Armor Matic would automatically take one from your reserve and then give you that plate automatically without needing to actually plate up. Because I could see people never using their armor plate button, but using this Armor Matic augment, but then they would be stuck with 3 plates in their reserve, but if they never armor plate manually, then they would never get that armor automatically. So I'm really curious to see exactly what this means. We'll find out in less than 24 hours, don't you worry. If it makes it so that armor plates are only applied once you are below a full armor plate, that would be monumentally better in my opinion. However, if it is like what I just described, where it's going to automatically pull from your reserve if you're lower than 1 armor plate, which I think is a little bit more quality of life and more in line of what the Armor Matic augment actually does for you, then I still think it's going to be a big waste of armor plates. But we'll have to wait and see. They addressed an issue where Deadshot Daiquiri would not lock onto a zombie's head when aiming through certain doors. They closed an exploit with augments that returned all perks from Last Stand. Not exactly sure what that means. Heartbreakingly, they closed an exploit using PhD Flopper with Stuntman to reach high rounds rapidly. We don't know exactly what this means, and I really hope they didn't nerf this too much. I don't know what was exploitive about it. Maybe the cooldown wasn't working, but from what I've seen and all the game that I've had with it, there didn't seem to be an exploit with Stuntman. It just seemed to be very strong. But if it was just very strong, then they would have just nerfed it or changed it instead of saying closed an exploit. Very strange. And they updated the Wisp-T Fetcher Augment description, probably to add the fact that it doesn't actually pick up nukes, which I think is a great thing. Equipment. These ones are all basically bug fixes, not able to purchase Klaus from the call box after loading a save, not having equipment collision, Chompy not eating sticky grenades, players getting teleported back to the boss fight with a Casimir. They did change it so that Hunter bots will be destroyed by shock mimics. That just makes sense. That's what the shock mimics do. Support, same sort of thing, lots of issues. The player's health bar would disappear when bleeding out, and spectating another player active in the disciple injection, very particular. Addressed an issue with players being able to play sentry turret in the Vault of Flesh, crazy. The dog would obstruct the start of the RCXD race. RCXD may be pushed forward during the race. Visual effects for the Mangler cannon would disappear when swapping between third and first person. I thought that was an issue in Black Ops 6, but cool, all those things are fixed. Vehicles, an issue where Old Tessie would break the pathing of Uber Klaus. Klaus would fall behind Old Tessie, clipping into the camera. Addressed an issue where players would become invincible if they are kicked out as soon as the player teleported into Old Tessie, very interesting. Adjusted the score event to match when killing zombies with the auto DG2 turret fire. That score event is really interesting. Don't know exactly what it means, probably just when the score pops up. Addressed an issue where long weapons would clip into Old Tessie. Added a handbrake to the HUD, that's going to be great for handling and letting people know how to drive better. Incorrect button prompts for the Abomination Beam have been fixed, and there's an exploit with Old Tessie near map boundaries that would create an exploit, so that's all been fixed. Power-ups, they fixed an issue where some power-ups would not have a timer, and then another score event where it would be incorrect when players convert their Gobblegums with double points active. Like I said, lots of bug fixes here, but brace yourselves because they reduced the drop rates for high-value items in early rounds from Aether plants fertilized by toxic growth. Now, before we freak out, please, let's keep a level head, everyone. We still need to test this in-game. We need to see exactly what they mean by nerfing or dropping those rates, what they classify as high value items, and what they classify as early rounds. So before we freak out, let's just try it for ourselves here. But this is kind of heartbreaking, especially for the cursed mode, because man, It is tough to play Cursed with the points that you need and the salvage that you need. It was a big help to use this toxic growth trick, so let's hope it's not as bad as we all fear. And then there were issues with the Aether canister ping not clearing, prevented players from pinging the Abomination carcass, Aether canister clipping into players. We would receive 2 ray guns from one of the overgrown horde husks. And then they did fix an issue where if you load back in a save, the DG2 turret would respawn. I'm glad that's been fixed. That's kind of just annoying to see. In terms of enemies, again, more bug fixes. Zombies still appearing alive after being eliminated with high contrast mode on. Idle zombies in certain locations would be weird. Clipping onto the roof, going through an APC. Blood can be seen while shooting directly on a fallen hat. That's so specific. Zombie animations not playing correctly. Stuck in a climbing animation loop. Ravager's portal VFX were missing. Addressed Vaetherian's collision so that zombies will not go through it if thrown by a player using Disciple Injection. How freaking specific is that? Great patch notes, you'll love to see it. I really do. Addressed an issue where Vaetherian would clip the ground when throwing Old Tessie in the middle platform. Addressed an issue where the quest zombies in Exit 115 would hold up the round if they were the last zombies alive. This was huge during the Easter egg, so I'm glad to see this fixed. And addressed an issue where the quest zombies in Exit 115 would not spawn after loading a solo save. This is huge. I definitely lost an Easter egg run by quitting and reloading back in by testing some things and having these zombies not spawn. Mimics would get stuck, zombies may get stuck out of bounds, dead Ravagers still have glowing eyes, all that's been fixed. TED tasks have been addressed, an issue with TED task requiring zombie eliminations not tracking correctly, and an issue where players remaining in the location not tracking correctly at Exit 115. Gobblegums have got a surprisingly big buff. When swapping Gobblegum packs, the first 3 gums will swap once one of the following conditions are met. The player uses a gum in any slot, the player takes a gum from the Gobblegum machine, or 3 minutes of total match time have passed. That is huge. If you spawn in with the wrong Gobblegum pack, you just need to do one of these 3 things and you will have the first 3 gums in that pack. It's just making it that much easier. Or if you're going into a boss fight, you don't want to hit the Gobblegum machine, you just like hit it once or wait 3 minutes or do something and boom, you've got the first 3 Gobblegums in that next pack. Really, really cool. And could potentially change some speedrunning strats. I'm just saying. Addressed an issue where a special round would occur on the next round after the player used a timeout Gobblegum during a special round, and then addressed an issue where progress from converting a Gobblegum to essence would be saved on the slot with a new Gobblegum. Very interesting exploit there. Challenges removes the daily challenge for killing special enemies. Sticky grenade and cluster grenades now count towards challenges that require lethal equipment. That's good to know. Bunch of UI stuff. The entity subtitles will no longer appear if you have subtitles off. They adjusted text for certain Intel descriptions in the Intel menu. I literally just got done recording my Intel update, so that's going to be really cool to see what they changed. Hopefully it's a little bit more juicy Intel stuff. This prompt no longer overlaps with subtitles. The Wonder Fizz machine updates after soda fountain. Power door icons won't appear again after saving and quitting. Pings not clearing, sprays not clearing. Failing the Aether generator and then loading a save will be fixed. Quest objective HUD is now disabled when players are attempting the Xursa attack or Dempsey Easter eggs. The RCXD HUD will not stay on the screen if it explodes. Addressed an issue where the flavorless Gobblegum was missing its icon. Incorrect playlist type would appear on the scoreboard menu while in Cursed. Wonder weapons are no longer appear to be locked in the mastery badge list. And the correct number of chevrons that appear for ultra weapon rarity at the arsenal machine in Cursed. Very good. Lots of people saying they needed one more arrow or one more chevron for that ultra weapon rarity. Very cool. Unclear loadout restrictions in Cursed. That's actually going to be really nice. Addressed an issue that was causing XP reward to not display after picking up intel. For graphics, there's a garage lighting when driving towards Ashwood issue. Timing for the white flash once players complete the main quest defense event in Van Dorn Farm. Addressed an issue where players would briefly see the Janus Towers Plaza when loading into Van Dorn Farm. That's really good. That caught me a couple times. For audio, they added a sound effects for picking up ammo drops, the freezer key, and they added in a voiceover when players earn the eternal perk or perma perks. Very cool. Addressed an issue where zombie sound effects could disappear, and then they addressed multiple operator voiceover lines, whatever that means. Addressed a performance issue when destroying a horde husk using the DG2 turret, and of course various stability issues. Really interesting patch notes, some really big nerfs unfortunately to the toxic growth and maybe even PhD, but we did also get some buffs to the armor matic, augment, as well as Gobblegums. And Vaetherian got a buff in cursed mode, so I think now everybody can be happy. And if you want to stay up to date with everything Black Ops 7 Zombies, including me going over all of these augment changes and diving into the augment system and Astra Malorum, be sure to subscribe, check out this video, and stay beautiful.